And it's coming on tomorrow. And thousands of people have died in a quest to seek better living conditions in Europe. And apparently, they do this through dangerous means. And despite diverse efforts by the continental body, the African Union, and other African and EU governments to keep migration, little has changed as more and more people try to reach the shores and the peninsula of Europe, even at the peril of their lives. Well, leaders discuss irregular migration and other challenges at the EU-AU summit just taking place next door at Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. Deutsche Welle, DW, and its Ghanaian partner, the multimedia group, and potentially JoyNews, is holding an open forum for those affected tomorrow, November 30, 2017 at 5 p.m. And it's taking place at the University of Ghana, potentially at the Institute for Statistical, Social and Economic Research, he said. The town hall debate is part of Deutsche Welle's ongoing multimedia project, the Migration Dilemma, which apparently also provides analysis, in-depth coverage and open discussion of African migration and its potential humanitarian and social impact. So make a date with us. It is tomorrow. But today, we're having great discussion on the subject and try to look forward to what the forum will be tomorrow. We hope that you stay with the team, AM Show team, as we bring you that discussions. But now let's look at what the stories are on the front and back page of the newspapers. We'll also be looking at what the stories are on the various online portals. Potentially we'll go to myjoyonline.com. But let's start with the Daily Graphic. It has on the front page, hard times for transport operators. And we've been telling you over the last 2 days about how there have been calls on the Minister for Roads to intervene, because we've had two bridges that link the northern parts of our country and also the rest of Ghana. And we're talking about the Bupe and the Yape bridges. And we've had the Member of Parliament for Yape Kusago, who has had concerns raised about how this is resulting to food losses, potential loss of revenue for farmers as well as transporters and even daily commuters between the two center halves of our country. So it's featured on the front page of the Daily Graphic, and it says hard times for transport operators, call for minister's intervention as Yeji congestion worsens. And the story is on page 3 of the paper, and it reads that representatives of transport operators across Ghana yesterday held a crunch meeting with the Minister of Roads and Highways, Kwesi Mwakwata, over the untold hardships that the closure of the Bupe and the Yape bridges in the northern region has visited on them. And according to the story, which we also JoyNews have covered extensively, since the closure of the bridges on November 22, 2017, we've had transport operators complaining bitterly about the deplorable nature of the Eastern Corridor Road. More than, according to what the report we also have, over 200 vehicles are currently stranded at the Yeji end of the bridge. And, well, they're trying to cross over to Monkago in the northern region. So we'll discuss this also on AM Talk. We also have Ghana-Italy to deepen relations. That's a good one also. It's on page 16 of the Daily Graphic. And President Akufo-Addo and Mr. Paolo Gentiloni, the Italian Prime Minister, featured after they met at the Flagstaff House here in Accra. Great post, great diplomacy, great discussions. We also have on the front page, Ghana losing fight against corruption, and that's according to Professor Emil Short. We know that he was one time commissioner for the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice. And Professor Emil Short has his story well featured on page 28 of the Daily Graphic, and potentially also raising concerns about how the fight against corruption is being lost on the country. And it says a former commissioner of Shraj, Emil Short, says Ghana is losing the fight against corruption. And he attributed the surge in corruption to the lack of funds to enable anti-corruption institutions, and potentially also talking about Shraj, Yoko, etc., to fight the canker. Modes of appointing public officials, as well as people being appointed not based on meritocracy, but mainly political affiliation and patronage. And this has had to be a concern for many social commentators, many media houses, potential media personalities, as well as great thinkers of our country who have had a lot to speak about it. And he was speaking at the presentation of the Afro Barometer round 7 findings of the Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, here in Accra yesterday. So you can grab a copy of the Daily Graphic and get an insight into all that Professor Emil Chot has been saying. But we also have go after Woyome's 47.2 million Ghana CD Supreme Court. Well, we were just here yesterday, and then we're talking about a potential a ruling by the African Human Rights Court that's based in Arusha, Tanzania, for Mr. Woyome, just him buying time. And apparently when they went to court on Wednesday, or Tuesday, it was not to be after all. And the story is featured on page 16 of the Daily Graphic, and it says that for all the things that we're talking about, we have to do what is appropriate in the courts. And that's really what the Supreme Court judges have been saying. And it says, if Alfred Agbesi Woyome has any plans of celebrating his recent legal victory at the African Court on Human Rights and People's Rights based in Tanzania, he must put those plans on hold because the Supreme Court of Ireland has given the state the green light to collect the remaining 47.2 million Ghana cedis left for him to pay out of the whole package of some 51.2 million Ghana cedis paid him a judgment debt that was wrongfully paid to him by government. And so well, the ball is in his court, and we'll see how we get to do that. Now, we had got to the back page of the paper. It says WAMCO resumes operations following government intervention. And WAMCO is a West African mills company, commences operation and export of semi-processed cocoa, and so it's on the back page, cocoa processed foods and product. And the company shut down way back in 2014, laying off more than 6,000 permanent and casual workers as a result of its indebtedness to the Ghana Cocoa Board and 10 other cocoa processing companies, resulting in those creditor companies or creditors cutting supply to WAMCO. That's the West African Mills Company, WAMCO. Good news there for workers. At least we'll get a lot more employment in the area where WAMCO is located. But let's look at the Ghanaian Times. And on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, we have Ghana-Italy strike solar energy deal. It's a good one. It's a good one. The story featured on page 16 of the paper. Also raises good hopes for alternative energy sources for our country, as President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has announced plans by the government to partner Italian oil giant ENI to exploit the country's solar and other renewable energy resources. And their decision, according to the president, forms part of government's plans to make the country self-sufficient or reliant in its energy generation resources. That's a good one there. Congratulations to the president of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. We also have on the front page, SC dismisses, as the Supreme Court dismissing Woyome's applications. Story featured on page 19 of the paper. But the School of Hygiene students demonstrating overtraining allowances. Well, we've had restoration of allowances for teachers, nurses, and so potentially over the last couple of months, we've seen students of agricultural colleges and now School of Hygiene also demonstrating that they also want the restoration of their allowances. See how that goes. On the back page, Navy receives 4 patrol boats. That's on the back page of the Ghanaian Times. That's a good one. And we know that the 4 patrol boats were on Monday inaugurated at the Western Naval Command, Takrady, to re-equip the Ghana Navy, all in a bid to ensure the security of Ghana's territorial waters, as we say in the phrases when we're writing the stories. And the boats secured through a Chinese grant were named after former chiefs of naval staff. They are Rear Admiral John Kojo Gbana, as well as Rear Admiral Ataribi Sampanuno, Vice Admiral Matthew Kwashi, and Rear Admiral Geoffrey Mauli Biekro. So that's a good one there. And also honoring their past heroes and heads of the Ghana Navy. The other story we have on the back page of the Ghanaian Times is ECOWAS Electricity Regulatory Authority to adopt new regulations. Just grab a copy of the Ghanaian Times and you get to have an insight into all those stories. But let's look at the next paper, the Daily Guide. And it has on the front page, Woyome can't run away, according to the Supreme Court. He can't run away at all. He went to Tanzania, Charlie. So we'll see how that goes. Ghana, Mahama confused over free SHS, and the story is on page 3 of the paper of the of the Daily Guide. It says, former President John Dramani Mahama appears to be reeling under pressure after suggesting that a future NDC government is going to scrap the free SHS policy of President Akufo-Addo's new Patriotic Party government. You see how the Daily Guide likes putting all these stories. Great tabloid there. It says the former president is blowing hot and cold air on the free SHS policy, having realized the political implications of his position to scrap it in the event of him winning the 2020 presidential election. Well, the paper is also admitting that he could potentially win the 2020 election, that is if he's able to. So it continues that Mr. Mahama said during the NDC's unity walk held for him in Takwa, Western Region, last Saturday, that it was not by force. I don't know whether there's an English by that phrase that says by force. It was not compelling for President Akufo-Addo to implement the free SHS policy, which experts say is going to serve as a catalyst for future development of our country. Education is always good, though. I know it's not a good political statement to make by the Deputy Minister when he said that it's better for people to study under trees than sell dog chains, but I think that also getting some education is better than not getting any education at all. That's just my opinion. Also on the front page of the Daily Guide, we have 23 prostitutes fined 11,000 Ghana cedis, and prostitution is the oldest profession, we're told, in evolution. Even the Bible is captured. So, but in Ghana, it's a crime. We have in the middle pages or the center spread is a news one pullout of the Daily Guide. It's featured, Akufo-Addo's homosexuality response intellectual. And this one is coming from great beauty, great actress, Lydia Forson, who has a blog that potentially is becoming a fan's favorite. It says, actress Lydia Forson has described as intelligent President Akufo-Addo's response to a gay question asked him on Al Jazeera. In an interview with the Qatar-based news network, the president said legalizing homosexuality is bound to happen in Ghana if there is a strong demand for it by the populace. He, however, added that the issue is currently not a priority for Ghanaians. And so Lydia Forson went on and said, well, that's what the president said was intellectual, but he wasn't voted into power to enforce his own personal beliefs on all of us. She's quoted. He was voted to represent all the citizens of the country, irrespective of their beliefs and practices, which is why he gave an intellectual response devoid of emotion to that question, because years in law school would have taught him about human rights and the realities of any minority group. Look, I have to say this blog by Lydia Forson is potentially becoming one of the best platforms that you can get good opinionated articles. And we have other stories. That Shatta Wale attacks VIP. And we know that Shatta Wale had started all this beef with Nigerian musicians by headlining that with Wizkid. And we know that following that, not too long thereafter, there was an incident in which Sarkodie was supposed to have performed at a concert in Dubai, which potentially also didn't come off. And then he said, he says, Sarkodie, Charlie, for respect, give yourself some swag, man. I love Shatta Wale so much. My favorite between the two is always Samini, but Shatta Wale has great talent. It says Shatta Wale yesterday took a swipe at celebrated Ghanaian music group VVIP in a manner many have described as a total disrespect to the group made of Zeal, Prodigal, and Reggie Rockstone. And it's, I don't see VVIP as stars because they failed Ghana. They sold Ghana for cheap, and that has affected the music industry. Well, that's his opinion. I think he has some, because they only wanted to go there to Nigeria feature, but they were not asking for good money and all that. I think that's what he means. And he says, look at Lazy, who always wears people's village hat. Well, it's not me, so let me read it. He said, look at Lazy, who always wears people's village hats and will be making noise. Look at his beard like someone's village career. When I see such people behaving so foolishly, I feel sad for them. They don't understand the business of music, and that is what I'm fighting. Yeah. So we have the stories of Vlisco and Co launches in Ghana, and then we have Don't Blame Prison System for Black Crime, Denzel Washington. One of the great actors in Hollywood, has been married for a long time. He's always beating the imagination of me. Well, let's go to myjoyonline.com and look at what stories there are. We'll see how that goes. Okay. So we have North Korea tested new long-range missile that could reach the United States. That has got a lot of tongues wagging in the United States, especially in the think tanks, in international relation experts talking about it. Woman has 1 kilogram hairball removed from tummy after complaining about severe abdominal pain and constant vomiting. An Indian woman had an enormous ball of hair removed from her gut, right? Okay. The big life of the beauty industry. So talking about beauty industry and Charlie. And why we love to hate despots' wives. Because sometimes you can't help but think about all the good things, the goodies they tend to enjoy. Celebrating. Okay. That's gone. But let's look at the lawyer rips government over Supreme Court ruling against Woyoma African courts. It says a Gimpa law lecturer has attacked the integrity of the governing New Patriotic Party after the Supreme Court ignored an order by the Continental Court halting actions against Alfred Woyoma. Charlie. 64% of Ghanaians support prosecution of past corrupt officials. And we're told that is according to a barometer that was launched on Tuesday by CDD Ghana. But let's go up and look at some other stories there and see what we can do. Okay, 168 Ghanaian detainees in Libya are not part of slave trade. And we know that this is very concerns in the international community. There could be potential slave trade or slave trading between the areas northern Africa, and then we have in Europe, in the Mediterranean. Auditor General finds no evidence of 440 million Ghana cedi debt as Zoomlion fails to prove claim. Okay, so we also have Zimbabwe amnesty for cash stashed abroad. Zimbabwe amnesty for cash stashed abroad. The new leader is looking to recoup huge sums of money to boost Zimbabwe's ailing economy. And then we have Boko Haram founders home to be museum, and then when Kenyatta vows to overcome divisions. We have other stories there. Samuel Eto'o denies saving lives from Libya, and Harry Wood Meghan in Botswana. It used to be called Botswana land. All right, so today is another Wednesday. We'll bring you AM Business shortly, but before then, we'd have brought you sports. So sports is ready, and Asari Bediako is ready with the latest highlights. And potentially, we're going to bring you what took place in that match, Manchester United and Watford. Please do stay on.